as you can see, I have both models of Wacky Mole standing in front of me right now. I have the 2021 version and the 2013 version. So in this video, it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to do an in-depth overview of the both of them. We're going to compare them in all regards, including, you know, their cosmetics, the internals, their UV reaction, everything about them that matters, that people care about. Literally everything. We'll just get started right off the bat with the cosmetics, because as you can see, both of them, they look ever so slightly different. So the 2021 model is on my left, and it is currently on. The only reason the 2013 model is not currently activated is his motor is very loud and it kind of drowns out everything else. So he'll be turned off for the time being. Just by looking at their faces, you can see that there is definitely a difference. The new one it just looks slightly off, but it looks pretty much the same, aside from the fact that the hair is quite visibly different. Obviously the hair on the new one is much newer. The old one has been through some stuff, you know. It's weathered a little bit, it's sat out, so, you know, can't really hold that against it. But the new hair, I definitely like the color of it more. The texture of the hair is a little different too, but, you know, the old one has been sitting out for quite some time. But aside from that, their paint, there are quite a few paint differences. Now I'd have to bring the cameras closer to them, but there are definitely differences here. So here's the old one. Just kind of take that in. And here's the new one. I definitely think the paint on the old one's face is better. I much prefer the paint on the old one. However, the new one looks it's very close. So I can't really say the new one looks bad or anything like that. It doesn't look bad at all. Quite frankly, it looks pretty good. The eyes are one thing that are very different, actually. The spirals that are painted onto them, on the new one, they are much cleaner looking. They look so much better. And then their eyes are different colors. Now, the new ones are obviously, they're yellow, but on the old one, they light up white. Now, the yellow on the new one objectively looks way better. I like the yellow lights so much more than the white ones. And I can turn on the old one, just so you guys can see what that looks like for a second. Yeah, the old one has white LEDs and not yellow, so that is a pretty major difference. Moving down, you have the shirt, you know, the buttons, the stripes, the polka dots. The clothing is pretty similar aside from a few differences. Now, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod for this. The shirt on the new one, I'll get in. I don't want to talk about the glow at the moment. That's for another section of the video, but let's look at the buttons real quick. So the stitching, these buttons are very different. They are thicker than the old ones. Do you see how they're tied on here through the center with those that kind of cross stitching? On the old one, they're not like that at all. They're not attached here. They're actually attached on the upper end of the button and the lower end. So these ones on the new Wacky are much more secured. And because you can see, like on this one's bottom button, it's just kind of free flying because the thread on the bottom of this button came loose. So on new Wacky, that is it's definitely better. But yeah, you can see that the pattern on the clothes is pretty much the same. Just the same there. While we're looking at his torso area, oh, you know, one thing I actually did forget to mention, the collar. So the ruffles on the new one look so much better. Not in the black light, but just you know, in regular lighting, the ruffles on the new one are much better. They are glossy, they're shiny, they are much more pronounced in color. They are kind of a bright yellow, and on the old one, it's it's a very mute color. It doesn't look the best, as well as the fact that the material is much different. That's much softer and silkier. This is very rough. So the old one definitely has a better collar. However, you'll see later that the collar, the ruffles on this one light up in the black light much more. However, we also need to look at his hands. Now, his hands are pretty similar. I can't say, I think because the old one, you know, he's 8 years old. The paint has worn down a little bit. It's gotten a bit dirty. So I would say that some, you know, these darker spots, I don't know if they're actual paint or if that's just, you know, the effects of aging. But all I know is that on the new one, his gloves appear much whiter and cleaner. His hands are the same size. Pretty much everything on this guy is the same size. The head is slightly bigger on the new one, though. So the hands, yeah, they're pretty much the same, aside from the fact that this one is much thinner. Now, the hammer, there are some differences here, and that mainly falls in the category of the paint job. So, the paint job on the old one, again, effects of aging or not, I have no idea, but the hammer, there's a lot more dark spots in the wood. The detailing of this hammer is better. The blood is more pronounced, and it doesn't look as, I guess, manufactured would be a good way to put it. Maybe not, but the old one's hammer definitely looks better. You can see there's the new one. But the major differences with the hammers is that this one is much thicker. This one is actually heavier. This plastic is so thin, I can't really do it on camera, but you can actually push in this plastic because it's so thin. But this hammer, you can just hear by the sound of it, this one is much thicker. It is much more high quality, which is kind of unfortunate because I would have expected the hammer on the new one to be essentially the same, but it appears that is not the case. Now, oh, and the sensor. So the sensor on the new one is actually in his midsection, right there smack dab in the middle of his torso, right in between the two buttons. The old one's sensor, it's very hard to see, but it's actually right here in his mouth. Now, I will say, they should have kept the sensor in his mouth, and why I think that is because on the new one's clothes, it is very obvious, and the stitching stands out. However, on the old one, you know, that in between his buttons, it looks just fine. It looks perfect. And then you actually cannot even see the sensor in his mouth. It is very hard to see. So I think they should have just kept the sensor in his mouth. It would have been more discreet, but I don't know. SVI tends to just stick the sensor in the middle of their props now. I can't really do anything about that. I guess that's just a thing they mandate for all their items now. Moving on to the lower section, his pants are pretty much exactly the same aside from the material. The material of the clothes are different. On the old one, these pants and the shirt, they're much more silky and smooth. On the new one, they are somewhat silky, but they're thicker and they're stiffer. They're a lot more stiff than the old one's clothing. The old one's clothing kind of just flows freely, in a way. But yeah, his pants are practically not different at all, besides the material. His shoes. Now, his shoes are one of the major differences with this guy, as everybody already pretty much knew. The new one's shoes are plastic. They are the same shoes that every modern SVI clown has, except they're just painted neon green, while the old ones are made of cloth. These are the same as 2010 Uncle Charlie's shoes, except they are neon green as well. The new one's shoes look much better. They glow about the same, actually. I thought the new ones would glow more just because, you know, the material, but they are pretty much the same in terms of glow, but we'll get into that more later. But new one, I'll definitely give points to the new one for this, because the new one's shoes just look a lot better in my opinion. I talked about some materials Now, I mentioned that the shoes were plastic on the new one, cloth, you know, the clothing material is different, plastic's thinner here. But the major difference, if we're talking about materials cosmetically, it's the head. So, on the old one, the head is it's pure plastic, right? It's just a plastic head. However, on the new one, the head is latex or soft PVC. I'm not quite sure. I think it might be latex. I would hope it's soft PVC, because if it is soft PVC, the chances of it rotting are very low. However, if it is latex, then rotting is inevitable. However, I'm not quite sure, but regardless, it is that material. As you can see, if I were to squish his nose, it is a soft material. It is just backed by plastic, so he does have a plastic mold under that soft material in the shape of his face that keeps his face in shape. Now, a lot of people wonder why they decided to go with a latex material over just replicating the plastic head on the old one, but it is indeed cheaper to manufacture soft materials rather than hard materials. Now, why they went out of their way to make a whole head mold underneath the soft material that is literally his head goes beyond me, although it does not have the eyebrows. But, you know, there is a mold under there that is the exact same shape as the head, except, you know, without the eyebrows. So, in reality, they probably could have just gone with a plastic head for this guy, but they didn't. So, I guess all we can do is hope that it's soft PVC and that it won't rot over time. But regardless, it does not look that bad. When I initially unboxed this guy, my initial reaction was like, oh my god, it does not look nearly as good as the old one. But I've grown pretty fond of the new one. I think having both of them side by side now, having stared at them for about a day, standing next to each other, I definitely like the way both of them look. And I think the 2021 version does a pretty good job at replicating the 2013 one. So here are both of their frames. They don't have their clothes on, so you can just see all of their Eternals. Now, right off the bat, there are major differences. Visibly, the control boxes. The old one on my right, you can see that the control box is much smaller, and it is stationed in the upper right of his torso. And on the new one, it is much bigger, and it is on the bottom left. And you can see the arms, the shoulder frame, everything else. While I wanted to mention about the arms too, they have a very fundamental difference. Something I wish they would have done on the new one that is on the old one is that the arms are springs, or they're on springs. So they, like, for example, this hammer arm, this hammer is kind of facing down as opposed to the one right there, because it's on that spring. The hammer is weighed, it's heavy, so it's weighing down, you know, because of the spring. It's not a stiff arm. And then this one is also on a spring, so this one has the ability to move around a little bit, as opposed to the new Wacky, which are just solid iron arms. So no springs, they are very stiff. So that's one thing I wish that they would have done on the new one. I don't know why they removed those on the new one. I don't see any reason to do that, but they did. So another thing, another major difference, if we go down his body, the hip loop and the motor. So if my camera will focus, this is what the old motor looks like. It is just a simple reindeer motor. It is wired directly to the control box. You cannot disconnect that wire. It is very rickety, to say the least. As you can see, it's in the front of Wacky, so it's right in his crotch area, and the hip loop has this protective ring so that the clothes don't get caught in the motor, but that, as you can see right there, that can still very well happen. Now, on the new one, the motor is actually in the back, and as you can see, it actually has a protective layer of plastic over it. I don't see how the clothes could get caught in this. This is very smart. A nice big protective layer of clear plastic. And the motor I gotta take my camera off the tripod for this. But see, because this one is just a simple reindeer motor, this one is very different. As you can see, the shapes of the motors alone differ greatly. Here it is from the bottom, kind of rectangular, kind of square. Meanwhile, this one is completely round, you know, basic wiper motor, reindeer motor, whatever you want to call it. This one is definitely more complex. I believe that one, the new one, is actually, I think it's gear driven. Meanwhile, the old one, it is quite literally just a motor attached to, like, I guess what would you call it, the spigot? Not a spigot, but you know what I mean. Up here at the top, directly attached to the motor. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this new one is gear driven. But this new one is definitely much higher quality. It is much better. Now, on topic of the control boxes though, that one is much bigger, and it also has more features. Well, not really, but it kind of does. You'll see what I mean. So on this one, here is the small speaker, small control box. You got a volume control, step pad jack, and foot pad jack. You got the on, which is the constant mode, and then sensor for sensor, and then off and or try me. Oh yeah, and then here's the wire for the head. So that's about it for the control box in the old one. The controls are all on the front, by the way. So on the new one, they're all front facing. On the old one, I mean on the new one, they're on the back. So here are the controls on the new one. So same volume control, you got step pad and tri-me jack. You got the same options with the toggle switch, but this one actually has a speaker jack. So you can plug in an external speaker, and here's the wire from the control box that goes to the motor. This, you can actually disconnect it from the motor, so you could have them static, unlike the old one. And then here is the harness for the eyes. It's the, you know, it's the new plug-in design. It's not the old harness. And then also, here's the sensor. So that's about it for the internals. It's pretty simple. It doesn't take much to go over them. They are, you know, Wacky's a very simple prop. He is not complex at all. Oh, but one thing I actually did forget to mention, the receptacles are different. So as you can see on the old one, it's this, I don't know what you would call this design, but it's got this design for the head and the arms, but on the new one, you can see that it is the newer, updated design. So very different, but they serve the same purpose. Okay, I have reassembled both of them, and now we're going to talk about something that, probably the most controversial topic when it comes to Wacky Mole. So what everybody's talking about, the blacklight reaction. I just had a major stroke trying to say that. But yeah, we're gonna be, oh my fucking god, we're gonna be talking about the blacklight reaction. Without further ado, we'll just do that. And now they're both lit up. So again, the new one's on my left, new one on the left, old one on the right. Now, right off the bat, the old one looks way more vibrant, and that's mainly the clothing that's more vibrant. So, the pink stripes on the new one, see, on camera they look about the same, but in person, they are not. In person, the new one's pink stripes come off as more of a purple. Meanwhile, the old one's stripes, they look exactly as they do on camera. They are a very bright pink. I don't know why the camera is making the old one look a lot better than it actually is in person. But yeah, the pink stripes on the new one look way more purple in person than on camera. The eyes are slightly different. Now, the red so the actual yellow portions of the eyes are glowing about the same. The new one the old one's glowing a bit brighter, but the red swirls on the heads, or on the eyes, on the old one, they are not glowing. They don't glow at all. And on the old one, they are glowing very much. They actually glow red. So that's something that the old one does better than the new one, which is unfortunate. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody knows by now that the old one looks better in the black light. But I really wish that the spiral glue, or glowed, not glue. That's not the past tense of glow. Another thing about the clothing, the polka dots on the new one don't glow at all. They literally don't glow at all. Meanwhile, the stripes glow just a little bit. The polka dots, yeah, they're not glowing at all. As you can see on the new one, they are practically lighting up. They look so good. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why, again, on the new one, it's just, you know, they're not glowing that much. And one thing I forgot to do, I'll turn off the floor lighting so it doesn't interfere. But you can see their shoes. Their shoes glow so bright it reflects off the floor. But they do glow about the same. The new one, in my opinion, does have better looking shoes. One thing I'll do here in a minute, too, is pick up the black light and actually directly shine it on them so it's not just looking up off the floor. But the buttons glow about the same. Now, the hammer, I don't know why, but the hammer just glows so much more on the old one. I'm going to pick up the light. And now I'm actually... Oh my god, that's hot. The fucking light is hot, not Wacky. Well, I guess they're both hot. But, fucking... Yeah, you can... See, this is a pretty fair comparison now. You can see the faces, the clothing, the shoes. But yeah, the hammer... Even just, you know, I'm trying to shine it. You can just see in this frame right here how much the red glows in the yellow, and it's not glowing at all on the red one. Or, why did I say red? On the new one. God damn it! I should not be filming this at night. Another thing, the ruffles. You can see. Oh my god! You can see on the old one how it's glowing a bright cyan color. And it's doing the same thing on the bottom of his shirt. That's really unfortunate that the new one doesn't glow like that, because on the old one, that just looks phenomenal in the black light. I really like the way that looks. But hey, at least their faces, aside from the eyes, they hold up. They both look pretty good. But the old one, objectively, is much better in the black light. It is just so much more vibrant. The polka dots light up, the hammer lights up, his spirals light up. Oh yeah, and his ruffles, there is just more... There's more popping off of him than there is on the new one, unfortunately. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn both of them on, and they're probably going to be making a lot of noise. Neither of their volumes are up, but still... The old one's motor likes to scream a lot. So as you can see, their only animation is twisting side to side, essentially. And now, this is something that the old one does better, and I'll say why. The animation pattern is different on both of them. The old one twitches like Limb Ripper. It stops, it goes, it stops, it goes. And because of that, his arms shake, and with the springs, it looks like he's kind of twitching. You know, he's a very hyperactive character, you know, and that really fits him. So the new one, he just consistently, granted, he does it a lot faster than the old one, but he just consistently turns side to side without stopping, or twitching, and because of that, his arms are very, very stiff because they have no springs, and he doesn't twitch. He's just a smooth moving prop. I apologize for old Wacky's motor screaming. I can't do anything about that. Yeah, so they're both gonna scream, but I'm gonna turn the old one's volume up, and we're gonna listen to the speaker differences. So, I'm going to turn this one up first and let you listen to a few of his phrases. And that's how he sounds. One thing you've probably noticed by now is that their constant motion activation is slightly different. That is because the new one actually has a relay switch. So as you can see right there, it always stops in the center after all of its activations, and the eyes turn off. However, I actually don't like that. I wish it didn't have a relay switch, and I wish that it was constantly activated like this one. This one's eyes don't stop lighting up, and he just continues going and going and going. He doesn't stop in the middle of his activation like that. It kind of breaks the immersion a little bit. But anyway, we'll turn the volume up. Alright, so the volume's up.
I just love hitting you bozos with my hammer. You better watch out, or I'm gonna whop you over the head, too. Oh, please, come a little closer.
As you can tell, there's a much bigger difference. The volume's not up all the way, but I'm going to turn the new one's volume up at the same time.
Wanna pummel things with my hammer. I think I'm going crazy again. Stop running, boys and girls. Who's next to get walloped by my hammer? Let me be the first on your block to say, Wacky Mole, plump me over that head.
They almost synced up there.
I just love hitting you bozos
But yeah,
with my hammer.
you can hear the difference.
You better watch out, or I'm gonna whop you over the head, too. Oh, please, come a little closer.
So that's both of the Wackies. I don't think there's anything I forgot to go over, but that's about it. So it was a pretty simple comparison. Pretty much went over everything there was to go over. Now, which one you like more is a personal preference. Again, I think the old one has an objectively better face. I just think the paint job on the old one looks better. The blacklight reaction is definitely better on the old one. However, the new one has better quality clothing. It has better quality pretty much everything except for the hammer and the hands. And I guess you could say the head too, because it's a soft material, not plastic. The structure is 10 times better. The speaker, the audio is not compressed. The audio is 10 times better. There is much to love about the new one. And I understand, and now that I own both of them, I do understand why people prefer the new one. But yeah, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, check out my other content. 2099 Chapter 1 is still up, so you should go check that out before Chapter 2 drops. I also have Wacky's Unboxing, which I just uploaded. You should totally go check that out as well as Buzzsaw's Unboxing and some of the other demos I have. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.